Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of the People Progressing Podcast. Really excited to have a member of one of my Vistage teams on today, Hark Herold, who has a great career in the Air Force and now in the business world, and just has a lot of leadership stuff to give us today. And just really excited about having you on today, Hark. And I always start by asking, like, where'd you grow up? What'd you like to do as a kid? Sports, music, whatever it might be, and kind of what led you into getting in the Air Force.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. So grew up in a small town, Iowa, Cresco, Iowa, the very northeast corner. I think our population at the time was like 3,000 folks in town. High school graduating class of 28, counting the foreign exchange student. So very small school. So as the youngest of eight, I tell my siblings that they just kept going until they got it right, and then they figured they could stop.
I did not know you were there's 8 kids in your family. That's new to me.
Yes, yep. So yeah, so the youngest of eight. My dad died when I was 11. He was quite young. So there was my next closest sibling in age, my brother. One of my brothers and I were at home then, obviously, and then they left. So it was mom and I from then on. But yeah, that's kind of played again, small town, so very small school. So played sports. Yes, I played baseball, basketball, because like everybody did. Like that's kind of what you did. It was the only way we could field a team. I know you were a baseball coach and you probably had good baseball players. I played varsity all 4 years because, like, when you only got so many people, they're the people who play.
Well, so when you graduated from there, is that when you went into the Air Force, or did you go to college first? I'm not sure about that journey there.
Yeah, so I got a ROTC scholarship, Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps. So I had a scholarship to go to Iowa State University. And the way that works is you go through the ROTC program while you're getting your college degree, and then when you graduate, you also get commissioned into the military. And so I wanted to be an astronaut because everybody at that time wanted to be an astronaut. And then the reality of these things, glasses kicked in, and decided that wasn't going to work. So, but really in high school, I was not very, I mean, I was on the sports teams because, again, everybody was, but I was not really involved or engaged with a lot of things. But when I went to Iowa State and got into the ROTC program, I kind of found my people, and really at that point started on my leadership journey, because I really was not a leader at all in high school.
So when you did that, Harks, and you graduated from Iowa State, you were going into the Air Force after that. You spent 28 years in the Air Force. I'd imagine there was a lot of times where you had to make decisions. Am I going to stay in? Am I going to get out and start my business career or whatever? What made you stay in for 28 years? It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, so part of it, right, was again, I've found my people. I found my mission. I found what I enjoyed doing. I found out that I enjoyed leading teams of folks and helping the team to accomplish its mission, regardless of what that mission was in the military, because I was in a lot of different kinds of units. But I really enjoyed that. And actually, I did leave active duty. So I did 10 years of active duty, left active duty to join the reserve, got a job in the civilian world. And then, so I was a reservist for the last 18 years.
Wow.
But during that 18 years, 12 of that was back on active duty between deployments, assignments at the Pentagon, and just other things, right? So, so it was 28 years in the Air Force, 2-ish of which were active duty throughout that time.
It's amazing. What a career. And you mentioned the Pentagon and you mentioned leading teams. Let's go there first. You said you found your mission, your purpose in terms of leading teams and in the leadership part of it. What was it that you found what was your aha moment that said, man, this is where I belong. This is where my purpose and my passion is, leading these people, learning more about leadership and helping these teams succeed and all that. What was there an aha moment that really kind of set that path for you?
Um, I don't recall a moment. I think it was just the culmination, the accumulation of experiences, right? Working with the different teams and just really enjoying that. So when I left the active duty and went to the reserve, I had a very varied background even at that point. And so they were trying to figure out which unit needed me the most. I ended up going into the communications unit, was the ops officer there, then became the flight commander. And then our group commander approached me and said, hey, listen, I need somebody the current civil engineer squadron commander is leaving. I need somebody to take over the CE squadron. And I was like, I haven't been in CE. He goes, I know that. I've got people who've been in CE. I need somebody to lead the unit. Are you in or out? Like, yes, sir. I can do that. So I became the civil engineer commander, obviously got, trained on civil engineering, got background, so I had some credibility, but really was brought in to lead the unit. And we ended up, a couple successful deployments over to Iraq, and then from there to the Army's War College, which is a senior service school, and then to the Pentagon for 6.5 years before getting assigned to the Academy to help set up the Cyber Innovation Center there for my final assignment.
Wow. So you said something that kind of struck me a little bit. You were thrown into leadership positions for different parts of the military that you necessarily were not an expert at, but they threw you into those because you were an expert at leading people. So was it nerve-wracking for you to go into that CE position, something that you really weren't too familiar with in terms of civil engineering? Was it kind of nerve-wracking for you, a little scary for you? How was that jumping into that when they kind of said, we know you're not a CE guy, but you are a leader, but you're jumping into something you didn't know. How scary was that?
Yeah, well, part of that is identifying who are the senior NCOs, who are the junior officers that and can trust, and provide them the guidance, the right and left parameters, and then let them go do what they know how to do. Being there, checking, being open to questions and suggestions, but ultimately being ready to make the decision, the call, and say, yeah, we're gonna, here's the three, have them present the three options and say, okay, this is the one we're gonna go with, based off of, overall situational knowledge, but again, based off of, the recommendations and inputs from the technical experts. Because at the leadership level, that's what you need to do. You need to have some background, you need to have some credibility, you need to understand it, but you don't need to be an expert in it.
And you empowered your people. You mentioned two things that really kind of caught me there. Is one was trust. How hard was it to develop trust in those junior leaders you were talking about? You didn't know them coming in. They didn't know you coming in. They might have known that you weren't a CE guy coming in and leading them and all that kind of stuff. What were some of the things that happened that kind of developed that trust in you and them in you?
Yes. So part of it goes to really talking to people that I knew and trusted, who were familiar with the people in that unit, right? And especially the senior NCOs, the senior NCOs are the ones that are going to make or break you. They're going to sink the ship. And so really talk to the senior NCOs from that unit who had retired, who'd moved on, and got from them, hey, these are the risers, these are the up and comers, these are the people that you need to, when they say, hey, sir, that's really not a good idea, they're the ones you need to listen to. So it was about not going in blindly, but it was going in with a, hey, you have my trust. Now you can lose it, but you don't have to earn it.
Yeah.
It's yours to lose, but you don't have to earn it. We're starting with the trust. And then we're going to move out from there.
And the trust that you gave them was empowering them to make some decisions and be a part of the decision-making process. Now, all of a sudden, they trusted you more as a leader as well because you're empowering them.
Oh, absolutely. And, one of the first things we did was a planning session, right? So it brought in the senior leaders for a planning session to really discuss, hey, fill me in, let's determine what our priorities are for the next year. Fill me in on things I need to be aware of, from your perspective, and really laying out the, here's where we're going, here's my expectations. How can I help you to help the unit achieve our mission? Because, our mission at that point was to prepare to deploy. We're a reserve unit. And so our whole mission is to prepare to be ready in case we have to deploy. So how do we best do that?
So I got to jump into this. I got a couple. You said you guys went a couple times to Iraq and had deployments over there. What was the difference, or is there a difference in leadership in a war zone compared to a non-war zone?
So, well, I think one of the things is just the immediacy, right? Like, you build up trust, you build up that rapport in quote unquote peacetime when you have time, right? Like we have time to have these discussions. We have time to go through these things. But when you're in a combat environment, there's times when it's, no, I don't have time to discuss this. This is what we're going to do. And, but you have to build that trust so that they know that, listen, hey, we can always come back and revisit this if it's something that needs that. But for right now, this is what we need to do, and this is where we're going. So, I think it'd be very difficult coming into command new, and then so my deployed command, so was a civil engineer squadron of reservists from, I'm going to say, 20 different bases.
Wow.
And so the majority of the folks were folks that came over with me, so they knew me, but not everybody, right? But the key leaders and most of the folks were familiar with me and the rest of the leadership team. So yeah, we did have people that didn't know me. But again, you start with the trust, the belief that your leader is competent until they prove themselves otherwise.
And you've said some great leadership characteristics: trust, rapport. Let's go into rapport a little bit. How do you build rapport with people that you don't know? As I sit there and think about it and I listen to what you're saying, you're bringing in people from all different parts of life, from all different bases, all different types of different units who had different leadership and all that. How do you build that rapport with these people that are coming in that all have different types of backgrounds and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Well, number one, you remember they're people. They're not just like pegs to put in holes,
Yeah,
right?
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
So they're people. And so you got to understand, and again, the military, we're unified by the mission, right? So that makes some things easier because everybody's there because we're here for one thing.
Right.
Like it's not like there's a lot of different agendas involved. So there's a unifying focus already. So you don't really have to instill that, which in some other organizations you may need to. So you rally around that unifying focus, and yeah, you get out and you talk with people and you listen to them and you show them. You don't just tell them that you care, you show them that you care.
Right.
And, and you work that with the rest of your leadership team. So it's not one person, trying to do that with 180 or however many folks. It's the leadership team going out and establishing that rapport and being open and available.
I love what you said too about listening. How much did your listening skills develop over your leadership life in the Air Force and in the business?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. Listening is important, and you just need to try to listen for the song beneath the words, right?
There you go. Yeah.
It's not just what they say, but it's the kind of the context and everything around it. And you just practice and you miss and you miss and you miss. And then, you get better at it.
So Pentagon, let's go there real quick. Lessons learned at the Pentagon. I'm sure there was probably tons of great leaders that you were worked with, and so forth in the Pentagon. Was there any specific lessons that you learned working there with all those great leaders?
So the best that I worked for was I think he's 2-star, 1-star when he started there, 1-star maybe. Anyway, but he total trust and accountability. He came into the office new and sat me down and we had our conversations, and he's like, listen, I need to be out and about doing strategic, having conversations, that kind of stuff. I do not have time to do a lot of the administrative things. I just need you to take care. I need them to go away.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I need to know what 3 things I need to know that happened in the office during the day. And that's it. And you take care of everything else. And so just the total trust, but the accountability. I mean, it was my expectation is you're going to handle this as I would handle it.
All right.
And if you have any questions about how that is, let's have that conversation, because I'm going to hold you accountable for doing that. And the amount of ownership that gives to subordinates, to people in an organization, when they have the freedom, but also I'm not just replying as me, I'm answering as that person.
Yeah.
I need to make sure I know what I'm talking about, right?
That's amazing. So how far did you make it? What were you, Hark, when you retired?
So I retired as a Air Force colonel, so in 2006.
Oh, Air Force colonel. Now let's get into, we kind of talked a little bit about your leadership journey. The question I've been wanting to ask you for a long time, you're now an EOS implementer. We'll get to that here in a second. You're working with businesses on leadership and building an organization that works from the bottom up and the top down and so forth. What is it? How much of the leadership that you learned in the Air Force has been used in your business career? What is the crossover?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's again the cheap answer, a lot, but it's things like, so 28 years in the Air Force, had command of units both stateside and in deployed combat situations. When I left the military, I was working with military veteran, military spouse entrepreneurs, focused on them, anywhere from ideation to multi-million-dollar organizations. But what is clear, that the organizations that excel, whether it was a military unit in a deployed combat environment or a civilian company, the ones that excel had a great vision or mission. They had the right people aligned on that vision or mission, and they had a system in place to ensure execution with discipline and accountability throughout the organization. So,
Okay. Go ahead, keep going.
it's aligning around those things. And we'll get to the EOS, but that's what EOS does for organization, is it aligns them around those things.
So you said mission, right person in the right seat, basically the right people in the organization.
Yep.
What was your third one?
A system in place to ensure execution with discipline and accountability throughout the organization. So, and we'll talk a little bit about right people need to be the right people for that organization, right? So the right people for one organization may not be the right people for another organization. That doesn't make them bad people. It's just not the right people for this organization. But like with the vision, right? So you've got to get it. So vision is easy. Vision is easy. This is what we want it to be. It's about execution, right? And it's about getting everybody aligned on that vision. And we talk about the vision needs to be shared by all, not told to all. There's a big difference. And a lot of people feel like, well, I told everybody the vision. Well, okay, that doesn't mean that they share in that vision. That doesn't mean they can see themselves in that vision. So the example I like is, so we're in Iraq. It's dusty, hot, windy, because we're in Iraq. And, I have a reservist plumber who's there. And so she's a reservist. So she wasn't active duty, right? So she's a reservist, got called up to active duty. So left behind her civilian job, her family, all of that. And she's a plumber. We're in Iraq. And we have a sewage issue. And so she's literally standing in the shit in Iraq, right? With all this stuff in the background, reservist, deployed, family at home, left her job, whatever. And she's got to share that vision for why we're there. Not just the task that she's doing, not just the job, but the vision. And so the amount of effort and proactivity and all of that is hugely different between I share in the vision and I'm just here doing my job. And it's the same in a civilian organization, right? It's the same thing. If people are bought into the vision, they really understand the vision and understand how what they do on a daily basis contributes to achieving that vision. Mm-hmm. That's shared, mm-hmm. not just told.
And I think that's when I look at it, I think that's one of the biggest problems or mistakes that business leaders make is they don't get people to buy into their vision or share their vision with them because they don't give their people a purpose for that vision and what their people's purpose is within that vision.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm going to not do justice to the story because I'm going to get the details wrong, but I'm a colonel, so details anyway. But that's right. So you've got the architect of one of the cathedrals in Europe, right? When it's being built, and he's walking and he comes across a bricklayer who's building, and he goes, "So what are you doing?" And the bricklayer goes, "I'm laying bricks." Okay. He goes down, farther down, sees another one, says, "Well, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm building a wall." Okay. So then he goes to the third one and, he goes, "So what are you doing?" He goes, "I'm building a cathedral to honor God." Now, which one's sharing the vision?
Yeah. The last one. Yeah.
And again, I know I butchered that story.
No. That's a good concept. It's a good explanation because what the guy's doing is he's producing a purpose that's greater than themselves. And I think that's really the share where you get people to share your vision is when there's a purpose there that's greater than them. And I think that's a great way to put it. And sometimes I think that's people are afraid to share their vision because they're afraid that some people won't buy into their vision.
Exactly. And those are the wrong people.
Right.
For that organization.
Right.
We had a great analogy I just heard the other night from a fellow implementer. And he's like, in Jim Collins talked about right people on the right seats on the bus, right? Well, the bus is the vision. The bus is where we're going.
Right.
Right. So you got to get people on the bus who want to go where the bus is going. So you got to define that vision, ensure that it's understood, and then get people who want to go there. And so when somebody comes in and says, oh, hey, as opposed to 123 Main Street, can you drop me off at Piccadilly? It's like, no, don't get on the bus.
Yeah.
This is where the bus is going. But the leaders need to clearly delineate that. And that's how you make sure is you want the right people on the bus, but not the people who really need an Uber, because they're going different places. Right?
I love your analogies. Those are great.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between mission and vision?
So you'll get a lot of different, right? To me, the vision is the bigger picture of where you're going.
Right.
And the mission is how you're going to impact that in your piece of the world.
Right.
Right. So the vision may be to help veterans and military spouses, right? But different organizations operate under that umbrella. The same vision, really, the bigger vision is to help the military veterans and military spouses. But our mission is to help the entrepreneurs. Our mission is to help homelessness. Our mission is to help, with financial. And so there's different ways to enact that vision.
Right. But the purpose, mission, I call mission a purpose.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, but so you have a purpose. The vision is how you're going to get to the purpose, right? It's how we're going to achieve our purpose. And this is how we're going to do it. And you said this too, I think it was really interesting. Systems and processes are the part that kind of point you in the right direction and make sure that you're going in the right direction on your vision. How important is systems and processes within that mission, vision, and then the systems and processes to make sure we're doing it?
Yeah, well, that's the execution, right?
Right.
So 80% of the reason organizations don't achieve is because of execution. It's not because it's not a great vision. It's not because it's not a great mission. It's because in EOS we say vision without traction is hallucination. Right? It's execution. You've got to have systems and processes in place to execute. Otherwise, it's all nice words.
Right.
Without any real impact or change. And so you have to determine, how are you going to execute for what are the things that we need to do the same each and every time, and those become your core processes. You have to have systems in place to make sure people are executing with discipline and accountability against those things that again, they understand how what they do fits into achieving that 1 year, 3 year, 10-year vision.
And I have a saying that you win the process. So in that third step of the systems and processes, you need to make sure that you're winning those processes so that your vision can keep moving forward to hit your purpose. And then you mentioned the last thing on there was discipline and accountability. Hark, how first question is, how hard is it to develop accountability within your team? And two, is it harder nowadays than it used to be?
Not if you do it right.
Okay.
It's simple. Define for
Love it.
the seat or the function, like, what does that seat or function need to accomplish? What are they accountable for? We use in EOS, we talk structure first, people second. So you don't design a job around a person. What is the right structure? What is the right functions needed in that organization? And so, and I don't care if you call yourself the chief marketing officer, the senior VP of marketing, or the marketing director. I don't care. What's important is, what are you accountable for to the organization? So you need to define those accountabilities. What are they accountable for? Not responsible, not what do they do, but what are they accountable for? Have that conversation with the person who's going to be in that seat. Make sure they understand it, because sometimes you need to be clear on the accountabilities.
There's that
So
communication piece.
yeah, so it's developing the accountabilities, being clear and communicating those accountabilities, and then holding people to those. No, this was what you're accountable for. We didn't make this. This is you. We had this conversation. And so, between, is it harder now or not if you do it right? Like, not if you are clear with the accountabilities, clearly defined, clearly understood, then you hold people accountable to that. And the good people love that, because with the accountability also comes the flexibility, right? The ability, like, don't tell me how to do it. Tell me what I need to accomplish. And I'll figure out how to do it, because that's what I enjoy doing. That's why you hired me, right? In the military, we call it, don't tell me how to suck the egg. Like, just let me go do the details.
And that goes back to that empowerment, now, which builds trust, right? Which builds rapport and trust. So it all kind of just helps each other all the way through.
So when I was a captain, I had 6 lieutenants that worked for me. I was running a 24/7 ops center command post. And so 24/7, so there's 6 lieutenants, and there's, I don't know, a dozen enlisted folks. And so we had to cover 7, right? 24/7 coverage was needed all the time, right? You had to have so many people on at certain times and all this stuff. And so I gave one of my lieutenants the responsibility of scheduling. But I didn't trust him, not because he didn't deserve the trust, but because I was a new-ish supervisor. And so I kept meddling with the schedule. And finally he walked in, and it was great. He walked in and he said, "Captain, do you want me to do the scheduling, or do you want to do the scheduling? If you want me to do the scheduling, I'll do it. But if you're going to be in it all the time, you do it." And it was great, because he came to his boss and just said, "I got this, but I need you to get the hell out of the way."
Yeah, let me do it.
And it was perfect. So that's one of the, like, I always remember Chuck Douglas for that one. That was great.
That's a great lesson, because I think one of the things I think business leaders struggle with a lot of times is that control piece. So when you talk about putting the right people in the right seats, give them the process, give them what they're accountable for, and then let them go. A lot of leaders struggle with that let them go part of it, because either they are the ones who started this business, built this business, and they think, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's more of just, I did this, I built it, I can't let go of it.
It's scary.
For
It
me to give
absolutely is
that,
scary.
to give that empowerment to that person and let them go with it is really a struggle for some business leaders. Have you found that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's scary. You know, especially when it's your baby. To your point, you're the one who created it. You're the one who's gone through all the struggles. Yes, that's hard, but you can't. So we talk about working with businesses that got here, they want to get there. They know what got them here, won't get them there, but they're not sure what they need to do, how to bust through and get to that next level. Part of that is delegating, and you got, if you don't change it, you're gonna get the same results.
Right. And
So
again, it all goes back to having the right people in the right seats. And if you do that, you can trust them. And then it's just kind of, sometimes it's baby steps for these business leaders. And I'm going to let this guy go and see if it works. And if it works, now I'm getting more confident to let it go. And it just kind of builds on itself sometimes, but it takes a while sometimes, because they have put in the hard work. They have done the risk taking. They have done all that.
and you need to delegate smartly. I mean, don't
Yes,
be an
right.
idiot. Like, you got to have somebody to delegate to, who is the right person in the right seats. They have the right training. They have the right qualifications. And so starting off with, hey, start taking on these duties, and then eventually I want to grow you into these duties are the right conversations, right? It's not about throwing something over the transom and then walking away and expecting it to be done. It's about how are we going to do this, and having those communications.
How much satisfaction did you get, Hark, in your military leading career and your business leading career, and watching someone take those steps and just get the confidence in themselves, see the light bulbs go on and become better at what they do, become better leaders and so forth? What did that make you feel like?
Oh yeah, it's huge. So, one of my compatriots says, you're not, and I don't think he made it up, but he's the one I heard it from. You're not a leader until you've made a leader who's made a leader.
Wow.
So it's not just you making somebody and they're running it. It's not just you making somebody and now they've got trained somebody to run it. It's that third, a leader who's made a leader who's made a leader. And that's where, so I taught ROTC at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln for years. And I occasionally run across my cadets, and yes, they're still my cadets, even though they're long into their careers, and see them become colonels in the Air Force. And that's when, like, okay, and again, I was one influence in their life. I am in no way taking credit for their careers. But just to see them have progressed and become, leaders of leaders is really fun.
It's really fun. I say the same thing exactly about coaching. Excuse me. When I have a former player who's now leading a company or starting their own business and doing some of those things, and I say the exact same thing. I'm not saying that was me. I'm saying I hopefully had a piece in that.
Right.
So 30
Right.
years down the road, when that person's going to retire and look back at his career, they can say one of the people that really kind of helped me, inspire me. I'm hoping that's me. That's what kind of my goal as a leader is, to produce that, and watching these people do that is so gratifying. I want to get into your EOS now, Hark. You're doing some amazing work with EOS. Why don't you tell us what EOS is for those people out there listening who might not know exactly what EOS is and why you do it?
Yeah, so EOS is a system for entrepreneurial organizations, whether it's a for-profit or nonprofit, but for entrepreneurial growth-minded organizations that, again, that have gotten here and they want to get there, but they're not, like, they need different things in order to make that. They need different people in different seats. They need structure. They need process. They need ways to ensure execution. And so EOS provides, it's a set of simple, practical, real world tools that provides that for the leadership team of entrepreneurial organizations. And so really it's about helping those organizations to get to the next level. And it's a set of simple tools. If you read the book Traction, it will talks about all the tools. And then there's folks like me who, as an EOS implementer, I work with organizations to help them implement this system into their organization.
So I'm a business owner. Let's say I'm a business owner. We've been in business for 10 years. We're kind of plateaued. Don't really see getting traction the right way and everything else. And just my processes, my system of doing things isn't really working right now. I call Hark, and Hark says what?
Yeah. So first, I'm going to learn a little bit more about why you're feeling stuck,
Okay.
and to see if it sounds like it's something EOS can help with, and that you're open to being willing to try new things, to try something different, and then we'll have a conversation. I will offer to give you and your leadership team 90 minutes of my time, and I will come and explain the EOS system, how it works, where it came from, learn a little bit about your organization, because at the end of that 90-minute meeting, the goal is that you have enough information to decide, yes, I want to do EOS or not. Yes, I want to work with Hark or not. And I have enough information that I can say, yes, I want to work with you. So there's two pieces of this decision. So, but really that's the purpose of the 90-minute meeting, is to explain EOS and come out of there with I want to go do this or not, and be able to make that decision. And then if the answer is yes, then working with an implementer, it's about a 2-year journey with quarterly meetings, basically, to get EOS implemented into the organization. And then I, as an implementer, my job is to help your team implement this system and then get out of the way. So I'm not looking to become a part of your staff. I'm not looking to be there long term. I'm looking to work with you over the course of 2 years to get those things, to get that vision, traction, and making your organization a more healthy team.
And how much do you hold them accountable to what they're saying they're going to do?
So I hold them accountable, but the bigger thing is the leadership team holds each other accountable.
There you go.
So we put the systems in place and
Right.
the mindset where everybody knows who's accountable for what, and they're holding each other accountable. Because again, my job is to not have them become dependent on me, but to give them the stuff, the tools and the disciplines and the mindset that they are doing it. And I'm here. If you need me, call me, but you're doing it.
Now, Hark, you've mentioned this a lot. You mentioned it when we were talking about your Air Force journey, now your business journey. How important is these organizations to work as a team, and Air Force teams to work as teams? And how important is that?
Well, it doesn't work otherwise. I mean, it doesn't work. So 100% important, 1,000%. It just does not work. If you want to run solo, even if you want to run solo, you're going to need a network. You're going to need support people. You're going to need people who have skills that you don't have, skills and perspectives, right? One of the reasons we talk about diversity, on the teams is because people bring different perspectives, different life experiences, different journeys, and a variety of perspectives is what makes the organization able to get to that next level. If everybody, and sometimes potentially working with an organization, will have the conversation, they'll be like, well, I want somebody with experience in my industry. I want somebody to be the implementer who understands manufacturing. I'm like, don't you have a bunch of people in your company that understand manufacturing? I mean, I would hope so, right? I'd hope you have a bunch of people there who know that. What I know is how to help your organization move to the next level. That's what I know. And in fact, because I'm not an expert in your industry, I actually bring a different perspective and maybe something that's new and that you can use that you wouldn't have thought of if you're just looking for people who know your industry.
Right. And working with them on teamwork and all those kind of things from what you've done. It's a remarkable journey that you've had. Again, I want to go back to one thing you said and touch on this a little bit. You worked for an organization that supported former military personnel who are now in the business world or entrepreneurs. Can you tell us a little bit about that organization and maybe how people can get involved or support that?
Yeah, Bunker Labs is the name of the organization. They're a national nonprofit supporting military veteran, military spouse entrepreneurs, right? Startups, anywhere from ideation to multi-million-dollar orgs. And so they have different programs for, again, military veteran, military spouses, depending on where they are in their journey. They have programs to help. So if a veteran or spouse has an idea and they want to see, is it really a business idea or is it a hobby? Right? Bunker Labs has programs to help them figure out. If you're a multi-million-dollar organization and you're trying to get through to that next level and you need a a peer group and some subject matter expertise to help you, Bunker Labs has programs for those folks too. So yeah, if you go to bunkerlabs.org, it'll take you to the page with all the programming.
I love that. I got a question about leadership for you. And I've thought about this a lot with you since we've met, and knowing what your journey was through the Air Force and all that, and what you're doing now. You're always serving somebody. You're always helping somebody. What does the term legacy mean to Hark Herold?
Legacy, just oversimplification, right? Just means that people are glad they interacted with me. They're glad they met me. When they look back when I'm dead, they'll be like, hey, Hark helped me with this, or he did this, or it was whatever. But that, the interaction was good. That's the legacy. And then there's the, more direct mentors, mentees, whatever. But I really think in the end, it's, hey, the legacy was, hey, Hark was a good guy so my core values are, do what you say, give first, do the right thing. But then the other one is enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. I told you I was the youngest of 8. 2 of my siblings have passed. Dad died when I was 11, so he was early 40s. I've had a couple nieces and nephews who have passed way too early. Like, enjoy the journey. This is, you're getting one shot to go around. Enjoy the journey.
So let me ask you that then, Hark. Two questions here. How much do you teach the importance of legacy with the business leaders you work with? And how much do you really focus in on getting them to enjoy that journey?
Yeah. So, well, I think most of it is by example, right? And so,
Okay.
but one of the things they talk about is, I want to help you, the entrepreneur, get more of what you want out of your business. Now, you define what you want. Do you want more time? Do you want more profit? Do you want a bigger, organization? Do you want to set it up so you can sell it? Do you want it to be ready for your the next generation, for your kids to take it? Like you define what you want your legacy to be. I can help you to achieve it from the business perspective.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Right. So I'm not going to define your legacy. It's your legacy. You define it. And then enjoying the journey is like, I share, listen, I'm going to go spend, I'm going to have the grandkids out here and we're going to go spend 4 days in Breck, and I'm going to block off my calendar, and no, I'm not like going to be available to come and, do it, whatever. Right. We block it off. Because that is part of enjoying the journey. Is it's not just about the work. Do you live to work, or do you work to live?
Right. So let's get into passion a little bit. Yeah, heard you talk a little bit about getting people into their passion, or finding their passion, and being able to live in their passion a little bit more. How important is that to you in terms of your leading with the EOS and what you're doing with your work with EOS?
Yeah, so I say my passions are, well, family, veterans and military spouse organizations. I'm on board for the Homefront Military Network, which supports military veteran, military spouse entrepreneurs. A couple of the organizations I work with are veteran focused. So veterans and military spouses, entrepreneurs. I love working with entrepreneurs, and travel. And so, those are kinds of my passions. And when I'm working with businesses, one of the things we talk about is, what is their core focus for their organization? Like, what is their passion and what's their niche? What's their purpose? And we want to stay focused on that. We want to stay laser focused on their passion and their niche, so that they don't get distracted by shiny object syndrome and just start wandering all over the place. but what is the passion of this organization?
I love that because that's what keeps people involved. That's what keeps people fired up to go to work, right? When they have something to go to work for that's
Right.
greater than themselves.
Absolutely. And we say, and you should be using that as in your recruiting.
No
You're
doubt.
talking to people between that and your core values, like that's we go through the exercise to determine the core values for the organization, and we say this is so you can attract the people you want and repel the other ones. We tell them, listen, you should have a core values speech with somebody before you hire them and explain your core values, and just let them know that, listen, if you don't share these core values, it doesn't make you a bad person. You're just not the right person for this organization, and that's fine. Because if these aren't your core values, you are not going to like working here. You're not
Yeah,
going to like it. So why don't you go somewhere where you're going to like working?
right. I always tell people I think it's kind of easy. I don't want to say easy, but it's not as hard to sit there and tell me what your core values are, to tell me what your purpose is as a company or as individuals. That's not the hard part. The hard part is living in it.
Mm-hmm.
The hard part is making sure that you don't get outside of it. And that if that's what you really believe, that's your core purpose of why you're running this business or why this business is in existence, or what your core values of running that business are. You mentioned your core values, and you're very disciplined at staying in your core values, staying with them. I think that's the challenge for a lot of people is being able to stay in there and live in those every day with so many things coming at you.
Yeah.
And I know you help people with that with your EOS implement. Say the
That
word,
works.
yeah. And
Implementation.
yeah, thank you. And you're helping people with that, and that's got to be gratifying for you.
It is. And realize with the core values, like we're not expecting perfection. Like 100%
Right,
of the
right.
time, everything is this. But it's like this is who this organization, this is the culture of this organization. And these are non-negotiables.
Right.
Like we, and again, the conversation with the prospective hire is like, you're not going to like working here. Like, why would you come? These are our core values. Because Joe, you know the best time to fire somebody, right?
Uh-uh.
Before you hire
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
them. I
So you
mean,
have those set in place, you know what they are, you stick to them, and that you hire off of them.
yeah. And you should
Right.
be using the core values to scare people off who aren't the right people.
Oh, I love it. Man, you're good. I got three questions for you, Hark. We're almost gone an hour already. You and I think, could go on with leadership stuff for a long time. I look up to you so much for what you've done in your life, and the leadership journey that you have had is amazing. The first question I have for you is, what's your purpose in life? You've kind of mentioned it a little bit, but what's your true purpose in life?
Yeah. So I think it centers around the core values and the passions. And it really is, I enjoy helping people get what they want. If the team wins, I don't care if it's a basketball team, a baseball team, an organization, a nonprofit, a whatever. I want to help, which is why I was in a lot of different specialties in the Air Force. Is it didn't matter what the mission of that particular type of unit is. I wanted to help the unit win.
Yeah. And what's your passion in life?
Again, I think it comes back to the family, military veterans and spouses, the entrepreneurs, and then the travel. Because again, I want to enjoy the journey.
Yeah. And I always say that your purpose and passion a lot of times will kind of equal each other or play with each other, or support each other. And the glue that holds them together is your perspective on life. When your perspective, things come at us to try to change our perspective. You mentioned your dad dying at 11. It probably changed your perspective on life a little bit at 11 years old. You mentioned losing a couple nieces or nephews at an early age. It probably chips away at your perspective a little bit, or tries to. What's your perspective that holds everything together?
No, I mean, I think it's it's the life is not forever. Enjoy the journey. And by that, I don't mean be, wild or wanton or whatever, but it's like, don't always put off until tomorrow.
Love it. Hark, how can people get a hold of you? I'm a business owner. My business is plateaued and everything else. And I want to get a hold of Hark and have them come in and implement this. Hey, I said it. Implement this EOS system and get it working. And I want to work with this 28-year Air Force colonel and his leadership and bring that EOS system into play in our company. How does somebody get a hold of you to schedule a meeting with you?
Yeah, so the easiest is to go to my website, which I put a shortcut in. So it's Hark, HARK, EOS. So harkeos.com.
Okay.
And it's Hark, like Hark the Herald Angels. And yes, we didn't even get into that, but yes, it's Hark, not Mark.
Okay. So maybe next time we'll get into that one. Because we might have to go round 2 on this leadership stuff. I could talk with you on that all day long. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an hour, and all the best in your journey here with the EOS. I know you've got some companies you're already working with, already making a huge difference in their lives, in their companies' lives, and so forth. And I know it's gratifying for you to do that. And it's all based on your servant's heart. And that's the biggest thing I want people to get, from this is everything you do is from the servant's heart of helping people, serving people, making people's lives better. And that's why you do EOS. That's why you do everything else you do. Love to get you out on the speaking stuff and get speaking on some of your stuff and tell more stories about some of your Air Force days over in Iraq and so forth. I bet you've got some good leadership stories and stuff there too that we could dive into. But thank you so much for coming on today. This has been awesome.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate the opportunity to have the conversation. And
Yeah,
we will definitely continue the conversation, whether it's on a podcast or one-on-one.
yeah, you and I've had some good one-on-ones, and man, I take everything in you say to me, and it's I have a lot of respect for you. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening to the People Progressing podcast. Like always, go out and share this, download it, do what you need to do to get this out so people can listen and hopefully get inspired to change some things and live a better life and enjoy the journey and have a better journey. And having people like Hark in your life helps you do that. So appreciate everyone listening. And like I always say, please, please, please keep progressing and always keep looking forward. Thank you. Bye-bye.